Today, we are going to show you exactly how you can move to Thailand in 5 steps.
That's right.
We are Steffi and Jason, the founders of How to Move to Thailand. We have a YouTube channel, a blog, and we've actually written an ebook to help people move to Thailand. It is more than a book because it also includes our private community where we will give you ongoing support for your move to Thailand. It's ideal if you're a teacher like me.
Or you are a digital nomad like myself.
And if you're planning to move to Thailand in 2025 or 2026, then listen to this.
Let's do it. So shall we dive in?
So the first one is a job. I sometimes hear people saying, oh yeah, I'm going to move to Thailand and then I'm going to get a job. That is not the way to do it. That is actually illegal to be here searching for a job on a tourist visa. As a teacher, there are various teaching platforms that you can apply for jobs beforehand and start to look. There are probably 4 different types of schools that you could be looking at as a teacher in Thailand. They are Thai local government schools, Thai private schools, language schools, if you're an English teacher, and international schools. So get on those platforms. I will link some of them below and start to apply for jobs in advance.
And far as a digital nomad goes, right, it works in the same way, right? You have to make sure the best way you're gonna find a job, right? So it can happen in a few different ways, right? So I've talked to people, they're actually on a W-2. So we talk about like, what kind of relationship would you have with that job? Is it possible to even work remote? And did you know potentially you can switch over to more of a 1099, becoming an independent contractor? Maybe you can set up your LLC, and then now you can also get some tax benefits by actually doing it that way. Or I've also had some people, maybe they have their own online business and different things that they do, and where they're actually making an income from, where they're actually able to use that income to provide the lifestyle they're looking for here. Also, there's another way, right? Is there available jobs for you here in Thailand? There is, but there's certain jobs that are protected. So you have to make sure that you have a strategic plan, because I've ran into numerous people, and I hate to say this, that they unfortunately have to find a way back home because they don't have a proper plan set up. They thought it's just like, oh, just let me book a ticket and kind of figure things out. Kind of like more like winging things. And I don't understand the logic behind it, but no one wants to talk about the bad side about it, right? Where they find themselves having to go back home because, 2 months or 3 months, they ran out of savings or different visa issues. So that's another thing I wanted to add on.
We're going to talk a bit more about savings at the end and all the tips that we think are essential to do before you move. So stay tuned for that one.
Stay tuned.
The second step we're going to talk about is your visa. This is obviously going to be linked to what kind of job you have. If you are a teacher like me, we are quite lucky because our educational establishments are going to organize that visa for you. You will have to complete a lot of paperwork and sign a lot of papers with your signature. You will have to bring or potentially even send before you arrive all your educational certificates. So the bachelor's you have from university, your teaching certifications, along with copies of your passport. And you might even have to send that by DHL or FedEx to Thailand before you move here. There are several options. Schools might ask you to go to the Thai embassy near to where you live, and you will get the visa. It would be a non-immigrant B visa, is the official name that most teachers here are on, which is linked with a work permit that you receive once you're in Thailand. So you would apply before you arrive. The other option that some schools do is they will fly you in. You will have all the paperwork to show you're planning to work here. They will then send you out of the country within the first 3 months to usually Penang, sometimes Vietnam, to go to the Thai embassy there to then get the work permit in those places. What they will not do is to bring you in on a tourist visa, first of all. So just be wary of that. If that's something a school could be talking to you about, that sounds quite shady to me.
And if you're going the route, right? So I've held different visas from the now current, the digital nomad visa, and I was also on a business visa as well. So business visa is pretty much straightforward. You can apply at your country embassy depending on what you are looking to start, what type of business. You come here, you get your legal advice to kind of make things more official. So I'm going to cover more of like the digital nomad visa. So with this visa, the misconception is, right, the different embassies around the world have different rules, right? I've heard people have been getting rejected from so many reasons. Sometimes they would allow you to maybe have some type of investments, even crypto investment. They would accept that as the 500,000 baht, as far as like guaranteed, whatever you call it, to actually get that visa. So that's not the case in different. Sometimes you have to have the 500,000 baht and you have to show consecutive for 3 to 5 months. And obviously you have to do your due diligence depending on the embassy. Also, people have gotten rejected, not able to be clear what exactly you do as a digital nomad, right? How are you kind of making those funds too as well? So I want you guys to make sure you cross-reference that, and just to be careful, because once you get rejected, you will lose the $400. That meaning you have to reapply again and spend another $400. So you have to be careful in making sure the information matches everything for us, that embassy, what they're asking for, based on the documents, based on the portfolio, and showing consecutive, meaning, you know, you're getting money each month and having a satisfied balance of 500K. So things can get tricky. And also, with the digital nomad visa, I believe they have the soft power. I haven't went that route. I went the route of being a digital nomad. So I will kind of break that down a bit more in different videos, because we'll be sitting here all day. But definitely do your due diligence and research, because it can be pretty headachy if you don't make sure that the information is correct.
Site below where you can look at all the different versions of the DTV visa that are out there, because it gets quite confusing too.
Tedious.
One more thing that I wanted to say linked to the visa is that there's a couple of extra things you should know. Every 90 days, there's something that we call 90-day reporting. And it means that as a foreigner in Thailand, you need to report to say that you are still there. If you were at a school, again, we are very lucky. Our HR will do that for us. They usually don't need your passport in order to do that. They can just go on the system. There's an online system now, and are able to do that for you.
So with that said, being done right, just make sure you guys, please just do your proper research to make sure everything matches up, depending on which route you guys definitely want to go.
Maybe you can share about your 90-day reporting experience.
So my 90-day reporting experience has been pretty chaotic. You're literally gonna spend the whole day, so make sure.
And we did the maths wrong as well.
Yeah.
And you had to pay extra
because
we didn't work out the dates properly.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it cost, I forget, like it was well over, I think it was like 2,000 baht or something like that. And yes.
And you can get penalized, like if they think you're not, like if it's not a genuine mistake, then yes, that's definitely something to keep an eye on. Make sure you set a reminder in your phone that every 90 days or the week before you have to report either in person at immigration, but I think now you can do it online, correct?
Yeah, now, so for the second time, I believe you can do it online. Obviously, you know, things change in Thailand, but I believe the first time you actually have to do it in person, that they need to see you physically. And then I believe the second time going forward, you can do it like all online. But just to make y'all aware, it is a whole day process and it is not fun. So prepare yourself for that first 90-day reporting, but make sure you check the date of your passport the time you arrive in country, and kind of like do the math to save yourself some money and save yourself some headaches, as I would like to say.
The other thing I wanted to mention about the visa, it's either the multiple entry visa or single entry visa. If your school puts you on the single entry one, it means that every time you want to leave the country, you have to go and pay, I think it's 1,900 baht, or maybe a little bit cheaper than that, to immigration before you leave. So you have to build in that extra time, and you have to pay every time you leave the country. Most schools will give you a multiple entry visa, so you don't need to worry about that. I've never been on a single entry one, but some of my friends have. So I think that's really something that you need to check with your school about and make sure that they will put you on a multiple entry permit. The DTV visa is also multiple entry, so Jason doesn't have to pay every time we want to leave the country.
Yeah, essentially you get 5 years, but you have to stay no more than 180 days. You have to leave the country. So it's possible to renew in country, but now I guess you can end up being potentially a tax resident. I believe there's a few implications with that. So I want to kind of stick to where it is easy as possible. And I'm okay with going out the country every few months. You know, you take vacations or holidays or whatever. So perfect time to skip away.
And Thailand's an amazing place to travel around the surrounding region from. That's partly why I started my Asia travel blog too. Lots to explore here. The third step that we're going to talk to you about is when you arrive in Thailand. So I really recommend this for digital nomads, but also for teachers. What schools will usually do is they will either put you up for the first year in school sponsored accommodation, so you don't normally have to pay any rent that first year, which is a very nice perk. Or what the language school I used to work for did was they paid for 2 weeks in a hotel for me, set me up with some estate agents, and then I initially had that 2 weeks to go looking for condos and for accommodation. And I definitely think that's the right thing to do. If I was coming here as a digital nomad, I would think, okay, I'm going to give myself a few weeks to then find the area that I want to live in, explore a little bit, and start to go and look at condos myself.
Yeah, and I would say before getting to the airport, I would start to kind of look at these different apps based on, you know, you have Grab, you have Bolt, but also in the airport, they have like taxis readily available for you. And I would say definitely do some homework on that. But another thing, what I would say is crucial, because a lot of people ask me, how much money should I like bring far as like cash, like far as, because I'm going to need to be, you know, taking transportation and SIM cards and so forth. So what I would say is you can bring the minimal, because there's a lot of ATM machines here, right, that you can essentially, you know, get out the ATM. So it's pretty straightforward. So I'll say you could just even just bring like $50. You want to, you know, change that at the airport, just enough cash to kind of get you where you need to get to. And, you know, you can find yourself at a local area and, you know, head over onto the ATM. And I highly recommending, you know, taking out a few hundreds at a time, because I believe it's like, I haven't, what is it, like $7 to $10, something crazy like that, that you'll have to pay each
the
time.
ATM fee for
ATM fees.
foreign cards.
Yeah.
Yes, it's quite steep.
It's extortionate. So I highly recommend even getting Wise. Is definitely international friendly, far as like, you know, different currencies and stuff like that. So I kind of, you know, just to off my head as a recommendation.
I think the other thing to know in relation to that is about banking here as well. So as a teacher and a salaried employee here, your school will set up your bank account for you and with you. You go along to the bank with someone, you take your passport, your work permit, all the paperwork, and they will help to get you set up. That's really, really helpful because it's not easy to do by yourself. But once you are there, you can then go in, and if you wanted another bank account with a different bank, you can then go and set that up yourself. But the onus is on them to sort it out, the initial bank where your salary will go into.
And speaking on banking, I just want to add a little more. I know this is not the sexiest topic, but I've been through so many issues over the years being here in Thailand where my bank will kind of flag the transaction.
Your American bank.
My American bank. So I always recommend having different options just in case maybe you can't get in contact with your bank back home. You're finding yourself needing to get cash, whatever reason, make sure you have multiple options, because I've been in a jam a few times. Believe me, it caused a bit of headaches for myself. I didn't have.
He had to fly back to the US just because he got locked out of his bank account and had no money.
Crazy as it sounds, I literally had to fly back, and it cost me thousands of dollars of, you know, headaches. And I've learned, right, to have options, guys. Like I would say 3 different options, 3 different banks, even credit card too as well. I think it's very important to add extra layer of protection for yourself.
One that you're not going to use, just there as an emergency. Perhaps.
Absolutely. Emergency is the key. Remember what I've been through, and I've been through it, so you don't have to go through it, you know, and trust me, I've been there and done that, which is crucial.
I think step 4 is going to be about finding accommodation. So there are lots of online websites where you can look at the condos. However, in my experience, a lot of the things that are online are not actually currently available. So what is much better is I recommend having a look at the online websites, seeing what condos might be there, particularly if you're in Bangkok or Chiang Mai, and seeing, oh, I like the look of this one, and then telling an agent when you arrive, hey, can we look at some condos within this building or in this area? I would be really specific about the sizes. Some people come to Thailand, they're quite surprised how small some of the condos are. So a 1-bedroom condo, for example, that I used to live in was 31 square meters. I don't know what that is in square feet, but yeah, they do tend to be on the smaller side, particularly if they're the newer, more modern buildings. If you want more space, you'd probably go for a low rise and a bit of an older apartment that tend to be much more spacious.
And to add on that, guys, listen to me clear, right? I've done it and I'm guilty of it, but I've learned a thing because I've been living here for some time now. Do not go full dive in and booking a place for a whole 30 days, right? It's madness, right? Why? Because you don't even know if you're going to like the area, right? You don't know if you're going to like the place. Why are you going to jump out the gate and make a huge commitment, right? Why not just book a hotel for a few days and get to know different areas to see what you like about the area particularly? It's very important and it's very crucial that you kind of get to know where your surroundings and making sure like this area fit your whole agenda. Make sure this place, you enjoy the place. Make sure there's not any issues in the apartment, right? Like make sure that things kind of check out from the condo you're looking for instead of diving deep, right? And there's ways that I was able to find my condo, and guess what? It wasn't through these online platforms far as like, you know, Hotel, Agoda. It was through Facebook, but I built different connections, so it's easy for me, and I'm able to kind of help people based on my connections, right? Because Thailand is a place, once you meet people who, you know, has connections for us, like these different real estate stuff like that, it makes it 10 times easier, I would say. And I'm sure if any of y'all been through this situation, you can kind of vouch to that, how important to having, you know, meaningful connections in those areas.
Yes. Yeah, I would say the other thing financially to know about renting in Thailand is that you will need to pay 3 months straight up front. So you will need to do a 2-month security deposit and then your first month's rent up front. So I think that's really important. Some schools might give you an advance on the money. I had that with my language school previously.
Ooh, that's a nice
and then I would pay it back to them a little bit over the following 6 or 9 months, I think it was. But otherwise, make sure that you've got that money there that you know is going to go out and you're not going to see for a long time.
But guys, guess what? You're not breaking the bank. This is not back in the States or Western. You ain't gonna have to shell out thousands of dollars. Okay. Yep. Continue on.
That's so cringe.
Hey, it's the truth. Like, literally, like back home, like literally they would charge like 3 times, right? Sometimes you gotta put 1 month's rent and 2 month like deposit. And you don't, you know, like you still have to furnish your place. So where's all this cash coming from? So
yeah, that's something to say as well, that most places here are furnished. So you don't need to ship any big items of furniture. There's unlikely to be room for them if you're in a modern condo. So that's important to know. I have a whole packing list that I've written and I will link below as well.
yes, don't bring your whole life here. You're not going to need it. Most things are here.
Yeah, you can find pretty much anything you want, but obviously environmentally, you want to be bringing the important things here so you don't have to repurchase. Step 5 is settling in. This is one of my favorite parts of moving. I've lived in 5 different countries as a teacher, and settling in is just so important. So things like making sure you decorate your condo. I've been round to people's condos and they just feel like a hotel, or it's empty, and I think it's so important. I bring photographs, I bring artwork to frame once I arrive here. I'm very big into plants, and I think that part of decorating and making things feel homely is going to help you with feeling homesick, which is inevitable. But once you start to think of somewhere new as home, I think that can be really important. The other thing is about making friends. And I think we both think that's really essential. I've moved to Thailand twice as a single person before I met Jason. And making friends and your connections here is everything. There's so many amazing people that are here in Thailand waiting to meet you, but you actually have to make the effort to go out and find them. They will not necessarily drop into your lap just because you're a teacher and you're in a work environment. For example, at the first place where I worked, when I arrived, I found out that all of the teachers at my language center were very much settled. They were married, lots of them had kids. They were quite a significant age gap between them and me. I was only 24. And so I learned the hard way, like, oh, I'm going to have to go out and really make an effort to meet people. But I'm so grateful for that experience because it means that's my attitude this time around as well. So I have friends from work who are also teachers, but I think it's really important to meet people who are not just in the expat teaching bubble and that you get to know a whole wide range of people here in Bangkok.
Yeah, and it's very important because people I've met and, you know, they find themselves feeling like a bit lonely because they haven't made friends. And I just try to find out, like, what's their routine like? And the routine consists of going out like most of the time of the week for them to get that social aspect. And that's not a realistic lifestyle, like going out partying all the time. And I feel like that's their way of kind of they're finding friends. And it's going to be more like a party friend personally, but maybe you've had different experience. These friendships are an extension of your family, right? Because anything happen, you know, they can be there to kind of help you. And we never want to think of these things, but guess what? We're human beings. Things happen, and it's very important to have that extension family. And it's going to give you a sense of belong, right? So if you don't take the time to make a friend, at some point, you know, why am I here? What's holding me here? Nothing. 9 times out of 10, I revert back. And that's like, you know what? Let me go back home to my real friends because I didn't kind of give Thailand a chance to, you know, get to experience it and make friends and so forth.
I think that can be one of the mistakes that digital nomads make as well. They're like, oh, I'm going to spend a month in Chiang Mai, a month in Koh Phangan, a month on Koh Kud. And then they don't really realize, oh, actually, that's not settling in. That's wonderful. Do that for 4 months, 6 months. But then pick a place and start to settle in and build a life there, because I think otherwise it'd be really easy to feel lonely.
So easy to be lonely.
So those were our 5 steps for how to actually move to Thailand. If you want to know more, we have loads of resources on our channel here. We also have 2 more essential tips for you. The first one is savings. Even if you have a job lined up here, like me as a teacher, you will need a significant amount of money before your first payday, for your perhaps housing allowance comes in, before your settling in allowance, which if you're quite lucky, some schools might give you a settling in allowance, but you normally have to pay out of pocket first, and then you claim that money back once you have the receipts and show them to your school, and that's normally at a later date. Right. So make sure you have enough that you feel quite comfortable that you can cover the first month or so before your salary kicks in, because moving to a new country is expensive. There are lots of purchases that you're going to be doing, whether it's new technology that you're going to need, certain things you might need for your kitchen or bedding, all kind of practical things like that do add up. I spent a lot of money on plants.
So quick, yeah, it's very important to have that savings from a digital nomad aspect, right? In case anything ever happened, right? You may lost your job. You want to make sure that you are covered for a few months. And I'm going to kind of dive deeper in that. This is not going to be the video for that, but it's very important that you have some proper saving, even more than a teacher, because right, you have your job set up, but a digital nomad, your job is like whether you're working independently, you need to make sure in case that contract ends that you could cover yourself for a few months, and also having that proper insurance in case you get into an accident, because her school, I'm sure, will cover those things, but you have to cover yourself, and it can cost you thousands of dollars.
Yeah, that's our second thing, is about insurance. So schools will give you normally very good medical insurance. You can use the private hospitals in Thailand, which are fantastic. They feel quite like hotels when you're there, and they have amazing medical staff, and all of them, in my experience, speak English. If you do not have medical insurance provided by your work, then that is something essential that you need to get in advance.
Absolutely. And just to add on before we close out, I was in an accident myself. Luckily, I had money to cover it. If I didn't, guess what? I would have been out of pocket hundreds of dollars. and I didn't have no insurance. So guess what? If I had proper insurance, it would have been a deductible. I would have actually got reimbursed. So another tip to make sure you're covered.
If you think this was helpful, you're definitely going to find our ebook helpful, where we have written down all of our knowledge and wisdom from a combined 10 years, I think,
Yep,
now of
absolutely.
living in Thailand and working here as a teacher or as a digital nomad. And so if you are interested in getting our book, we will drop the link down below.
Or if you want to book a one-on-one call, you want something more tailored, like, I don't know exactly how much I need to have or what job should have, like, we got you. So whichever, it covers it in the ebook, but if you want something a bit more tailored, you want to talk to someone, I'm here for you as well.
If you're not 100% sure that you're moving to Thailand yet, then subscribe for more content.
See you on the inside.